Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Neurodiversity Media Network. Today,
Mhm.
we are here on a quest for personal evolution, y'all. I've really loved this series, Biba. So, today, we are talking about self love.
Yes.
Let's do a short refresher. We've covered money.
hmm
We have covered what else?
Health and wellness,
Health and wellness,
personal power.
personal power.
hmm
Today, self love.
hmm
And then the final episode in the series will be for work.
Yes.
Biba has recorded sets of affirmations
hmm
and training for each of these topics,
hmm
which you can find now at the website that we're going to link in the comments
I
because it's all
know.
pretty. I'm so excited. Mine is too. Neurodiversitymedianetwork.com, baby.
Yes, it
We're,
happened.
we're working on all of it. We're
Yes.
doing the things. Development, growth takes
Yes.
time, y'all. Okay. Self love.
Yes.
Let's talk about self love. So, this is hard for a lot of people,
Yes.
right? And this is hard because we're not just giving ourselves new messages, we are overcoming old programming.
Yes.
And we talked about this to a certain extent, I think, in money, but I really want to get into how do we overwrite existing bad programming?
Hmm. Great question as always. And I talked to Briar off camera. My sinuses are on fire, so I will be excuse my blowing my nose and all of that. My eyes are running and everything is like,
It's the pollinating, allergy season.
it
We're all
is.
going to, in March, we're all going to be, everyone who suffers
Yes.
is going to be doing this for a
Everybody's
solid
face is
month.
gonna feel
Sorry,
like my
y'all.
face. Yes, sorry. And excuse me, because I'm starting early. Um, how do you overwrite bad programming? The way that you overwrite bad programming is to recognize that the programming that you have is old. It is based on certain experiences that you've had or your understanding of the experiences that you had at the time that you had them when you were young or when you were, impressionable or when you didn't know as much as you do now. And it starts with that level of awareness and understanding of yourself. We all have quite interesting or bad programming, if you will, because we've all gone through so much. I mean, it's really literally a part of the life's experience. No one comes out unscathed. Nobody escapes death. There are a few, inescapables, and those two things are it. Like no escaping death, and then of course, the trauma, whether it's a big T trauma like violence or like a fire in your house or something like that, where you're physical pain, where you're jarred, you broke your arm or something, or even what we talk about a lot is like little T traumas. So at a time when you don't know like much, you take things to be um traumatic for you. It could be something that someone says like, oh my gosh, look how you failed your quiz, so you're stupid. And to you it's like, oh, my world is rocked, there, right? And that means that if I'm stupid, then I can't do, like, all sorts of things that you've made up around what this statement um has made you feel, or the understanding that you have about your world now because of something that something had done. So it's not that it's not traumatic. It is traumatic. It just isn't like a big T trauma, but they both still have the power to really negatively impact you for the rest of your life until you start to rewrite that programming. So recognizing that it's there is a start, really.
Okay. So, once we've recognized it,
hmm
and trauma, let's be clear here. Affirmations are not gonna cure your trauma.
No, 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 no.
I, we've talked. Have we talked about? No. I, I can't remember what I talk about where anymore. But trust me, multiple trauma modalities, and there are things to explore. You can
Yeah,
look at EMDR, you can
yeah.
look at IFS, you can
Hmm.
look at somatic stuff,
Right,
you can look at psychedelics
right,
and various and associated supervised therapies.
right.
Ketamine seems to be really big these days,
Mm,
MDMA.
right.
My therapist is certified now in mushroom therapy.
Okay, wow.
So we're really making some strides when
Mm,
it comes to alternative therapies and treatments for trauma,
hmm.
and we encourage you to explore those.
Yes, we do.
However, there is reprogramming and then there is recovery, right?
Right,
And
right.
affirmations are an essential skill in your reprogramming toolbox.
Absolutely.
I think that the ability to tell yourself things about yourself that you actually believe
Yes.
is essential in the healing process. So, while we're doing all of this work, Biba, what
Mhm.
does it look like to build out these affirmations?
It looks like, again, like acknowledging what is true. And when the way that I do affirmations, which we've talked about throughout the series, is a bit different than the way that we've been taught to do affirmations. So I typically do affirmations using you are, because it's a language that we understand, because it's how we were addressed earliest in our life. Like, you are cute, you are start, look at you. So we're not like, look at I, and someone's not talking to us that way. And if they were, there's some other problems that we've developed, but it's an understanding that we have in how we're addressed. So when you say you are affirmations, you really are speaking directly to you, like what is true about you, even if in your current reality you don't believe that to be true or you can't see that for yourself. So if I have an affirmation, for example, where I say you are good, like you are a good person, then inherently I am a good person. I may not believe that, but because being a good person is true for all of us, it really does speak to or override like the beliefs that we have about ourselves, especially if we're making mistakes, or I'm a bad person because I did this action, or I'm a bad person because I didn't do this thing, the stuff that we tell ourselves. But ultimately, inherently, we are all good. Like, we start off as human beings, we start off as little babies, we are good, but our behaviors or our actions may not be good. So it's about learning to separate what actually is true, what is inherently true, versus what we believe about ourselves. Because our beliefs about ourselves, and I've said this a few times, it directs our focus and it dictates our action. So if I believe myself to be a bad person, then I'm not focusing on the moments where I do good things. I'm not focusing on those times when I am exhibiting good behavior. And it's very skewed. So if I'm saying you are a good person as an affirmation to myself, then it's touching on those places within me where I do believe and understand that I am a good person. It will help me to help remind me of the times that I've demonstrated that I'm a good person, where if I'm only focusing on my own limiting belief of being a bad person, it's only going to show me, or I'm only going to think about those times when I've done not so nice things, or when I've made mistakes, or those kinds of things. So it's really about affirming like what really is true, like universal truths.
I was just thinking that the reason this is so hard
Hmm.
is because we attach self love to morality.
Oh.
That we're not fundamentally good people unless
Mm-hmm.
we meet XYZ requirement, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of this comes from existing religious traditions,
True.
right? For better or for worse,
True.
a lot of these things are, again, programming that we grew up with that
Mhm.
we now have to assess as valid or not.
Right.
But there is definitely the I am worthy.
Mhm.
That took me many weeks of EMDR therapy
Mhm.
to really square up in my head
Yeah.
as a fact,
Mhm.
which is, I think, one of the easiest lessons of self-love,
Yeah.
right? You are worthy. Oh,
Yes.
you're right. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. Why not? We all are.
We
I
all
believe
are.
it up here. And here is a different story for most of
Mhm.
us.
Yeah.
And that is because you are worthy only if you do these things for me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What does it look like to separate existing moral structures
Mhm.
from our personal beliefs about ourselves?
Oh, that's a big question. It looks like I think of it as being like it's hard work. It's hard work because it's been, again, it's a programming. It's what we know, it's what we've grown up with, it's the messages that we get from our parents and from those important people in our lives. Like if we go to church or we do these, different religious practices or read the Bible or Quran, whatever. And I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody who follows any of these religious tenets and
No,
structures
it's
at all.
not religion specific. Let's be
Hmm.
clear. Even
Yes.
paganism smacks of its own
Yes.
morality in
Yes.
certain places. And
Yes.
because that's the function of religion, is
Yes.
to be a moral compass, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
But that interferes with my beliefs about myself.
Yes. Yes. And so there is a reconciliation almost that has to happen with, your these beliefs and what you actually believe about yourself. Because if you think about how those beliefs stunt your life, I think that's really a part where you go to reconcile it. If you have these beliefs that you are not you're not a good person because you sin, for example, that, and if you think about what sin is considered, like there are so many things that are considered sins, for example, and we all do them. We lie, we tell half truths, and we have certain thoughts about certain things. We might have murdered someone in our imagination, you know. I think you're muted. I didn't hear
The
you. But
number
yeah.
of people I have killed in my head. It's
Yes.
fine. It's fine.
Yes. There's a lot of first degree murders that have been committed, or adultery and all these other kinds of things that a lot of us have engaged in or have imagined and whatnot. But in all actuality, when you have those things, you look at how your life or how those things affect your life. If I think of myself as being a bad person, again, because I've lied or because I've sinned, then how do I treat myself given that I have this belief that I'm a bad person? What kind of opportunities am I not stepping out with, or I'm not stepping into? Or what kinds of things am I missing if this is an inherent belief that I have? And I think that every religious or spiritual tenet or structure wants us all to be happy. They want us all to be healthy. They want us all to be good. They want us all to experience goodness and peace and those things that all of us deserve, in life. And it's hard for that to happen if you're holding on to, but you're a horrible person, you're a bad person, you're sin and all these other things. So
And structurally, I don't feel like, hello, friend. Structurally, I don't actually feel like that there is a problem inherent to religion and
Mm,
religious philosophies,
no.
but if you don't internalize those messages positively,
Yes.
then perhaps we should look at other things
Yes.
or consider breaking up with this system that is clearly not working for you.
Right.
The whole point of religious spiritual traditions is that they're supposed to be inspiring.
Yes.
They're supposed to guide you to goodness and
Yes.
to positive places.
Right.
They're not supposed to feel like weights around your neck that you
No.
can't
Or
do anything
shackles
right.
and
Right,
yes,
exactly.
exactly. Exactly. And when you feel like that, if you feel like, your these beliefs are weighting you down or they scare you, there's so much fear around you breaking out or taking chances or taking saying yes to important and inspiring opportunities, then an investigation is needed because that's not the purpose. That's not the point of what they're for. So that is part of the reconciliation. Like, well, how is this particular belief affecting my life? How is this driving my decisions? How do I feel about myself in general? Like, we're amazing. Like, just if you think about the fact that all of this is working the way that it's working, like when I say to have this message in my mind that I want to move my fingers and my fingers move this way, like, I mean, they're synapses and sparkling, and stuff is happening in order for this to occur. Like, it's magical. It's amazing, and so to there's so much potential that we have, and for us to be in systems or whatever, or have this programming that says that we're anything other than amazing when we can do, speak or blink or you know it is that's a problem. That's a problem. If we don't think of ourselves as that, what's universally true, then we're missing out on so much, and that's a sign.
So let's get into the nitty gritty of reprogramming work.
Okay.
Like, what does this structurally, generically look like? Am I writing things down? Am I taking long, meandering walks? What, what, what is reprogramming? Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, again, bless you.
Thank you.
What does reprogramming look like externally?
Oh, externally, reprogramming looks like, oh, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Externally, reprogramming looks like it feels like you're more open. Like, it feels like there's an opening. It feels like there's a um like a wave that happens. It's really that's what it feels like for me. Explosive, orgasmic, sometimes messy, yes. Externally looks like a sneeze. Sometimes it does. It looks like a yawn. It looks like your sinuses are now flooding to the front of your face and out of your nose and your eyes, kind of like
Poor
right now.
thing.
It looks like your life changes. Like, I
Mhm.
think for me, whenever that kind of happens, it it shows up in circumstances sometimes. Like, sometimes I don't notice until something happens that I know I would normally respond this way. I would normally feel this way. In the past, this is how I reacted to this. And then when it comes up, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't even that didn't even and none of that registered the way that it did before. Doesn't feel the same. I was calmer. I listened more. I asked more questions. I didn't start yelling. I didn't cry as much. Like, it starts to show up in that way. Like, you just notice. It's like, I mean, it's just an amazing feeling. Not when your face is running like this, but
Because the universe gives us ample opportunity
yes.
to try again.
Yes.
right? To do something differently than we might have done the last time.
Mhm.
So it shows up as, I think, possibility, but you have to
Possibility.
be
Mhm.
open
Mhm.
to the possibility. Okay. So that's externally. And I agree. I think that's very accurate. The more that we're open to possibility, the more the universe conspires in our favor.
Exactly.
There is a book by Rob Bresnick,
Mm.
Pronoia, which,
Hmm.
if y'all have not read, I highly encourage. It's a really great book.
Okay. I will definitely check that out.
Um, what's it look like internally?
Internally, it just feels like things are loosening up. It feels like opening. It feels like there are certain things that you're letting go of. And you know what it really feels like? What it feels like is that you get more information, is what it feels like. It feels like when you're closed off, the door is closed, the door is locked. They've got the tape around it, police sign, do not cross, whole thing. It's all there. But when you do that work, like the police tape is gone, the crime scene has been wiped up, the door is cracked open just a little bit, there's some air that gets let out, and then the door opens more and more. And then there's more information that you receive. What my experience has been is like, I never saw it like that. Or, you know what, now that I think about it, I remember some other perspective or something else that was happening at that time that I didn't remember. So it opens up that experience even. Because like I said, your belief is the lens. Your belief is the lens that you're looking through. It really does direct your focus. So if you are in a situation and you have this particular belief, you're going to see it this way. You're only going to see it this way. You're not going to see it from the side. You're not going to see it from underneath or over top, around the corner, right, left, whatever. You're not going to see it with the drone view, the one from underneath the Earth's crust. You're not going to see all of it. You're only going to see the part that you can align with, which is based on the lens through which you're looking. So when you're doing that work, it just opens it up so much more for you to see it a different way, for you to think about it a different way, to feel differently about it. And if that experience is opened up in that way, it helps you to release the belief that's connected to it. It like knocks it down.
So externally, it's possibility.
Hmm.
Internally, it's expansion.
It's expansion.
And we talk, the spiritual world in particular
Hmm.
talks a lot about expansion.
Oh yeah.
And I have some problems with the way that we talk about expansion
Oh yes.
because it skips the messy middle, right?
Yes.
There is no, it's the butterfly,
Yes.
right? There's a caterpillar, and then you are a butterfly
Right.
and you are flying
Right.
away.
Right.
There's not like,
The dissolution of the bone and
right, we
all
do
of that.
not talk
Yeah.
about
What happens
the,
inside that cocoon? We don't
we
talk about
do
that.
not, like, dissolving into nothingness and
Nothingness.
then
The goo.
goo and then recomposing into something else.
Right.
And that's work, y'all.
That
It's,
was work.
oh man, that's,
Messy,
ooh.
painful, like heart shattering, heartbreak, like the breakdown to break open. That's what that is. That's what that is.
And the fact that we skip over it, I think, really does a lot of people a huge disservice,
Absolutely.
because when they find themselves there in
Hmm.
metamorphosis, they think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one talks about this part. No one
No.
talks about the growth
I'm,
stage.
I'm
So
clearly doing it wrong. It's
I
supposed to be
must be doing
wonderful.
it wrong. Right.
Yeah.
So, how do we talk ourselves through that?
I think that this is why these kind of conversations are important, because in talking about it, when people are able to articulate what that process is like, it opens up other people who are like, oh, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. But how you talk yourself through it is that you caretake yourself through it, really. You caretake yourself through it. You soothe yourself through it. You nourish yourself through it. You give yourself a lot of love, a lot of attention. You sit with yourself and how you're feeling when you're going through it, because and recognize that it's for you. Like, I think that a lot of times when things are happening to us that feel shitty, that we're like, oh, there's nothing for me in here. This is horrible. It shouldn't be happening. It's happening. It is what it is. But there is something in every experience for us, and I think it's like something that you get to when you start to do your own work. Like, you can really look at the worst of possible experiences, because again, it's inescapable. Like, no one comes down here to Earth to just be on some Shangri-La unicorn shit. Let's just be all the way honest. Like, that there's no growth in that, and we can't recognize goodness unless we experience the other side of the register. Like, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't know that what is good, or what feels good is it feels good, right? So it really does. um it's inescapable. Like, it's something that you have to go through, but it's the caretaking of yourself through the process. And you can do all sorts of things to do that. That it could be a bath, it could be prayer, it could be meditation, it could be the long meandering walks that you mentioned earlier in conversation, it could be putting on some trap music and twerking, it could be anything, it could be sleeping more, it could be drinking more water, it could be journaling, it could be talking to your friend and kvetching about it, it could be, you just like, I just can't even do this right now, so I'm going to close this book and I'm going to put on some sort of movie. That I'm going to put on Step Brothers. I really like the part where they're fighting about the drum set. Like, that makes me laugh. Laughter is great. So caretaking yourself through the process, not ignoring it, not acting like it's not going on. It's this is happening right now, but what I need, because I can't really move forward completely because I'm having a lot of feelings, is what can I do to just caretake myself, to give myself my own little internal hug, tell me that I'm okay, tell me that this is for my benefit, even if I can't see exactly how this is going to move me in the place that I need to be whenever it is that I get there. Gratitude is an amazing practice, and I mean, we call it a practice because it is a practice. It's easy to be grateful for things that feel good, look good. It's easy to be grateful for those things, but when shitty shows up and you have to start digging through shit to find that little tiny diamond, that is like, I know this was horrible, but what this is doing is helping me to move through X, Y, and Z, or it's giving me um more fuel to do some other work, or it's helping to demonstrate to me my own strength, because I think of myself as being a weak person, or this is helping me to feel more resilient. Like, there is something in every single thing, but you deserve not to just take the brunt and just be like, I deserve to be hurt. That's not the purpose of this. It is really, how are you showing up for yourself in these situations when it doesn't feel good? That's the purpose. That's what you're supposed to do.
You know, a lot of people say to me, I feel like I'm doing too much self care or there's no momentum, right?
Hmm.
Because we have so internalized the capitalistic structure of productivity and
Oh
how we
yeah,
must be doing things all the
absolutely.
time. But I think that there is a line between self-care, caretaking,
Hmm.
and self-soothing,
Hmm.
which is when you binge watch your third Netflix show
Yes.
and order in your fourth DoorDash meal of the day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I think y'all really need to cut yourself some slack
Yes.
when it comes to caretaking and believe that you are worthy of those things.
Yes. Yes.
And not that it is too much, but that it is, in fact, what your system deserves.
Yes.
So, like, how do you believe that? Biba.
Well, let's go back to affirmations. Let's go back to affirmations. When you're saying these affirmations to yourself, you it's a reminder. And again, if you're using you are affirmations, which is how I do them, it's really speaking to yourself about what is universally true. You are worthy because you exist. You are deserving because you exist. You are a good person because it is inherent. We are all good people. We might do some things that are not cool. We might have said some things that were not cool, but inherently there is goodness that lives within all of us that all of us can access at any time. We may make some other choices, but inherently it's within us. So by affirming your worthiness, what you deserve, your inherent goodness, and what is universally true, that right there is the start to kind of open up your heart a little bit more for you to see that and genuinely believe that in 3D realm, not this other
Right.
5D universal dimension. Like that's wonderful, but you're here right now.
Well,
And
and shockingly, I think that people have an easier time believing in the inherent worth and value of humanity
mhm,
before they do of themselves.
like they're not a part of that.
Right. But I think this is especially true if you are neurodiverse. It's easy to go, oh, yeah, sure, I believe in the inherent worth of man, but I'm a
Mhm.
shitty person.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And I think the other thing too is like you just try it. You just say it. It's one sentence. You look in the mirror and you say, "You are worthy." You're looking at your own eyes in the mirror and you say that. And just let whatever come up, and pay attention. I think that a lot of times, and we've talked about this in a couple of these, that people are looking for the fast fix, and they're also trusting that, okay, this system or this thing that I bought or this thing that I'm listening to, the experts told me to do it this way and it's going to work. And they don't know exactly how it's going to work. They know how it's been promised, but they're not paying attention to, is this really aligned with me? Like, is this connected to me? Do I resonate with this? And so the system that I have is about all of that. It's about a level of awareness of the thing that you're saying, what you're using in order to bring you around to a different perspective. So, with the dynamic affirmations method, which is what we're talking about, we start off with clearing, like for you to become centered so that you're aware of, you're clearing out this whole, like all this noise and all that other kind of stuff that is not going to allow you to be fully present with the practice, because again, it is a practice. Then you say the affirmations, and after you say those affirmations, then you're supposed to notice. You're going to take a moment to see, how does this feel in my body? Am I experiencing some thoughts? Is my inner critic showing up and being a total douchebag? Which all indicates there is some additional work or something that is here for you to go a little bit deeper, whether it's with your therapist, with the journal, with God, whomever. Like there's a little something here that is causing you to feel not necessarily positive or loving or whatever towards yourself. And if what you're noticing is that all of a sudden when I said, like, you are beautiful, for example, I just wanted to cry, then that's a sign that there's some healing work that's happening simply by even saying that. The tears is a release of emotion, of pent up, like of all of the things. It's a release, and so all of that is information for you to notice, right? And then after, the last piece is some energy healing work, which is just to seal in those affirmations. So what it does is you're saying some things and you're tapping on energy meridian points around your body that just make it just last longer. They kind of blanket you in that emotion and puts you in that frame of mind. So when you're going forward in your day, it's still with you. You're still reminded of your beauty, your inherent goodness, your worthiness, your intelligence, and whatever those affirmations were. So you try it, like you try it out, and then you just notice, pay attention, because you have the power to really tune into some things that your body is trying to tell you, because it's magical.
And I think that that process, and we've covered damn a little bit before in this series, and
Mhm.
structurally how this works, and also the internal work of affirmations, I think shouldn't be it shouldn't be you standing in your mirror and saying some shit to yourself for 5 minutes before you start your day and
Right.
then expecting that that is going to be some kind of cure all.
Right. Yeah.
There is a process here
Mhm.
for internalizing these words and actually making them mean something to
Mhm.
you. And
Yeah.
that does not happen 5 minutes in the mirror before you got to be somewhere, right? Like, this is so when we talk about both the external and the internal changes, those come from, unfortunately, doing the work. Doing the work, it's terrible. This entire show, y'all, this entire network, it's about doing the work and
Yes.
showing up and putting in your time a little
Yes.
bit every single day.
Every single day.
And not all the things every single day.
Mhm.
Like, I, I was looking at my own personal journal system, which obviously I keep in Notion because I'm like that. And it's some check boxes, right? And if I actually did all of those things every single day, I would not have time for anything else.
Mhm.
But I would also be, like pretty on my way to living my best life.
Wouldn't we all?
Wouldn't we all? What I want to talk about is how we do this work without having it be another checkbox, right? How
Mm.
do we build in affirmations in a way that we actually do them and that we feel good about the process?
Mhm. That's a good point. When you first start, especially when we're talking about change here. Like if you are already doing affirmations regularly, if you are already pretty on point about doing the work when things show up and whatnot, then it's not going to be hard to incorporate a new like a practice that you're already doing or that you're already open to. Could just be slotting 10 minutes in for the dynamic affirmations method in between you brushing your teeth and putting on your smell goods. This is a part of doing your smell goods. But if it's something where you're going to have a hard time because change is involved, you just give yourself a challenge. You might just say, look, I'm going to do this for 5 days and see how I feel. I'm going to do this for 7 days. I'm going to do this for a month. And that's the start. I mean, when I first started doing these affirmations, I wasn't doing them every day. I started doing them. I walk every day. And when I'm out there, I'm like, oh, this is a good time to do this. Cause I mean, it's just me and the geese fighting because they're very interesting and violent birds. They're
Oh,
violent.
yes. Very violent birds,
Very violent birds.
especially this time of year.
Yes, they are really nasty and vicious out here. So I'm out here in nature. I'm walking. I can speak out loud. I talk to, I do my spiritual stuff. So I slot it into what I do that makes it easier for me to do them. So you can do the same. Like the method, it takes 10 minutes. It might take a little bit longer if you need to go through it a couple times, but just basically it's 10 minutes. So I would challenge myself to, all right, I'm going to find where would this be the best place to slot this. Maybe the mornings aren't the best time to do it. Maybe the evenings before I go to bed and I'm putting on my face cream. That might be the moment. So finding the spaces where you can actually do it and then committing, which is the important part. The commitment to doing it is really like how you seal that in. So I'm going to commit to doing this for 7 days and see how I feel. And then assess, is this something that I want to continue to do?
We talk a lot about task chaining around here.
Mm.
BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits, much better than
Mhm.
Atomic Habits. It's
Mhm.
fine. Go read the original. Um, Task chaining, though, requires that the tasks that you're adding are added onto something that is already existing and
Mhm.
solid. And
Yes.
y'all, that can be anything.
You brush
You
your teeth
can,
every day?
no,
Well,
No,
okay.
I remember who you're talking to here, Biba. Neurodivergent people don't do anything every day, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest. Some of
Okay.
us do, but
Mhm.
most of us really, and that's an executive dysfunction thing. A lot of us
Gotcha.
really struggle with hygiene.
Okay.
But it doesn't but you do get up every morning and go to the bathroom,
Mhm.
and you probably take your phone in to sit there and Reddit while you take a poop instead of doing something good for yourself. Like, these are find even if it's the most baseline level activity, if
Mhm.
you do it every day, you can attach something better to it.
Mhm.
And this is also how uh, Tiny Habits recommends removing bad habits. You
Mhm.
just slowly replace the bad shit with positive, healthy stuff.
Right.
Because uh, so many of us really, the idea of quitting cold turkey
Mhm.
is as offensive as starting cold
Cold turkey.
turkey,
Yeah. I mean,
which
look,
is why resolutions don't work.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Like, just yeah, no.
This is not structurally a way the human brain works.
Mm-mm.
So we build stuff in where it matters, where
Mhm.
it's meaningful to us,
Mhm.
and in places and sequences that we can actually feel like we have some control over. And
Mhm.
again, 10 minutes, y'all. Biba's affirmation system. 10 minutes. We're
10
not
minutes.
asking you to slot out an hour a day for
No.
meditation
Oh
and
god.
whatever.
Jesus.
Like
Yeah, no. No, no, no.
that, again, realistic, life changing practices start small.
Yeah.
What Let's talk about some of the benefits, Biba. Once I've actually started internalizing this, and we know what it kind of looks like when that happens,
Mhm.
but what are some of the things that happen because I've been nicer to myself?
Ooh. Great question. So much can happen because you've been nicer to yourself. When you're nice to yourself, yourself is nice to you, I guess. But it oh my gosh, it like opens up your whole world. Like you feel better, you make different choices, you say yes to great opportunities, you put down boundaries, you start to protect yourself better. You're the people that you engage with, there's a shift because you're no longer energetically aligned with shit, with bullshit. So you all of a sudden just like, no, no, no. Like there's a barrier between you and people who aren't like that aren't about anything or not good for you to be around. Like it's just the money starts to flow sometimes. The decisions that you make are different. You take care of yourself better. The things that you eat can change. Like the way that you take care of yourself is different. The projects that you sign up for, the dreams that you may be more you have more confidence to go after those things, to say yes to more of those things, to have those kind of conversations. You take more chances. um you treat yourself to more, so there are more gifts that you may be willing to give yourself. Like you can clean your space better. Like I mean, it's so much stuff that can happen when you treat yourself better. It's like you start to make decisions to keep you in that energy. Like when you start to treat yourself better, you're like, I really want to treat myself better, and I'm not going to allow people to not treat me well. I'm not going to be around people who don't treat me the way that I am treating myself. If I'm holding myself to this standard now because I know I'm capable of it and I'm worthy and deserving of this treatment, then I'm not going to accept anything less from other people. Your relationships change. You like you're a different person. You're a different person.
So, why is it so hard?
Because there are so many things that we're used to. I mean, it's like your comfort zone. It's the devil you know. Like if you know, even though this is some fuckery, some sheer fuckery, you're like, I know how to deal with this. I'm used to this. And it's no point in me going out here and trying this other thing where I'm now going to have to get beat up before I, build up my reserves so that I can get through this when I was already in a situation where I put all this work in. And now, I know how to work my way around it. I think that we're just really, a lot of us are, we just want to feel comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's natural. Like we all want to be okay. But the work that's required to put us in situations like where there's opportunity, there's still risk. You know what I mean? Where there is, um, this healing work, there's still messiness, there's still discomfort, there's still pain, there's still a lot. I mean, so when you think about it, it's not sexy. It's
Mm-mm.
not sexy. So it's like, oh, well, why don't we go through the unsexy stuff so we can get to feeling better? It's like, well, because the what you have to get through to get there, that part it's a hard road to hoe, you know?
And it can feel dangerous,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
there is an element of unsafe to this work,
yes.
which so many of us spend our entire lives trying to cultivate safety.
Mm-hmm.
Generationally, I recently learned that if your Chiron is in Taurus, this is your great wound, that
Mm.
the idea that we're not actually safe in our bodies. Like for real, this is a
Whew.
point of trauma for
Yes.
me. The number of times where my body should have been safe and was not, in
Mm.
fact, safe. And so I think a lot of us really spend a great deal of time and energy cultivating a sense of security, even if that is just an illusion.
Yes.
So this work feels dangerous and hard and
Hmm.
unsafe.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would I continue?
I mean, do you really have a choice?
Ooh, hit him
do,
where it hurts.
do you really have a choice? And none of us has a choice. If any of us could just consult a crystal ball that would tell us about that car accident we're going to have in 5 days, where we're going to break our leg, the crystal ball is going to tell us about, for after 15 years of working at this place, they're going to lay us off. After they bring somebody else in that is supposed to help you, they're going to take over your job, so you're basically training them. Like if we had a crystal ball to tell us about all the shit that's going to happen to us, I mean, life would be different. Like, we don't know. We don't have a choice. We're going to go. This is kind of like, I mean, I'm telling my age, but at the end of the Carol Burnett show, the part where it's like the credits are rolling and she's just taking her bow and she's like, I'm not ready to go yet, Frank. But the screen is like pushing her along because it's like, you have got to go. We got to end the show. And she's pushing back. She's laying on the floor. She's using her body weight with her back against it. Like, but the thing is steadily moving her off the screen. You are going, and she's like, I'm not ready to go until she's gone. It's kind of like us. We're going.
Hmm.
We're going. The question is, how do we want to go? What do we want the going to feel like? Like we can't avoid the accidents. We can't avoid the trauma. We can't avoid the pain. We can't avoid the messiness. We can't avoid the grieving that happens. We can't avoid the problems. Like that's what we're here to experience, right? If we can't avoid that stuff, then we can't just close our eyes and act like the world is not burning outside our window when it's a 12 alarmer out there. You know what I mean? Like we have to show up. We have to show up for ourselves, and we have to show up for the people that we care about. And by showing up for ourselves, we are showing up for what's important to us and who's important to us. So we just can't act like shit isn't happening, because we all know that it is, right? So we don't have a choice.
It is. We don't have a choice. It is totally unavoidable. And I think, I don't know, for me, there is permission
Mm,
there.
one of my favorite words.
Like permission to fail,
Yes,
permission to try,
yes.
permission to go boldly and see what might be there for you.
Yeah.
Again, it's the muck,
Right.
right? Okay. If there was one more thing that you could add about affirmations for self love, what would it be?
I would add that affirmations for self-love, yeah, I mean, again, it's one tool, but self-love in and of itself is extremely important. It's extremely important. I mean, we were just talking about the muck and the messiness, and we're going, doesn't matter what the hell we want to do, like things are going to happen. And through it all, it's still us. It's still us with us. We're still together with ourselves. And if you are going through this, whatever it may be, acts of loving yourself is going to be paramount to you getting through those hard moments. Like it makes everything feel like you're just dragging your body through broken glass, unless there is some sort of, ointment or something that you're adorning your body with to just make it a bit easier to go through. And self love is that, right? It's everything. It's everything. And affirmations, when said properly, is a simple tool that you can use to nourish yourself and build up your self love reserve when shit hits the fan, because it happens often.
Because it happens often. There was a study done recently, people on their deathbeds,
Uh
and they
huh.
asked them about regrets.
Hmm.
Shockingly, no one regretted not spending more time at work. But one thing that came up that I thought was really interesting and is super relevant here is that there were a lot of people who said that they regretted not being nicer to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only life and body you got. Why are you making it harder than it has to be?
Yeah. It's hard enough.
It is hard enough. It is so, so hard.
Yeah.
It is progressively getting harder, frankly.
Yeah.
Every day we're around here, this joint, talking about all the things that are making it easier and harder. And,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, why are you making it harder on yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. It's what it is. And the more that we can lighten our own load, and to pour into ourselves, to love ourselves, to see our inherent goodness, and to believe our inherent strengths and all of those things, it makes it a bit easier when it's already hard enough. Like, I think about I've been thinking a lot about aging, at one point, when you're in your teens, it's like you or feel like you're invincible, and then you get older and you get even older and you get older, and then it's like, I have too much to lose, so I'm not going to do the same things that I would have done when I was little, when I didn't think that I had anything to lose, even though you could have the same losses, you could still die. You know what I mean? You're picking up snakes, it could still bite you, but now you're like, but if the snake bites me, then I'm going to have this $1,000 deductible, and I'm going to have to take time off from work. And I've already used up all my vacation days. And if they fire me because I've used my vacation days or whatever, then how am I going to pay my mortgage and my car and this and then list is, so we just really don't take the chances change. Like, our fear is different, and we are not willing a lot of times to risk, because again, it's all a risk. We're not willing to do that, because we believe that we have too much to lose. But aging definitely is one of those. It I hate to say it, but I'm gonna keep it real. It gets worse. Shit gets pretty bad. It gets pretty fucking bad. You know.
And the only way through or out is through, right? The only way
Hmm.
out is
Hmm.
through.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately the lesson here is that it doesn't get easier. It
Yeah.
just gets harder.
Mhm.
And if that's truly the case, then you better have all of the fucking tools in your toolbox
Yeah.
that you can absolutely have access to and use.
Yeah.
And Biba, what's the website for the tools?
Dynamicaffirmations.com.
I'm so happy. It's so
Oh,
pretty.
I
I'm typing it out,
know. Yay.
putting it in there.
Look at
And you
that.
can click on this link now, y'all, and go buy Biba's dynamic affirmation toolkit. Because for real, if this is a place where you struggle, we want you, we don't want that for you.
We
I
don't want that
mean,
for you.
so much of what I am attempting to build here is a toolkit of all of people's best stuff
Yeah.
in a fairly consumable fashion.
Hmm.
And Biba's affirmations, y'all, they're the shit. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching. We will be back in two weeks
Yes.
to talk about work,
Yes.
which is for a significant percentage of us, a place where affirmations really come in handy.
Yes, they do.
Don't gotta use the corporate speak if you're not ready to kill somebody at work. And
Yes.
like I'm just saying, personal growth, y'all. Just
Yes.
all right. This has been another episode of Personal Evolution. You can find all of them on neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. Subscribers get access to a bunch of nifty little tools where they're all, clustered together and pretty. We got some special private streams.
Hmm.
March is membership madness.
I love it.
Paid subscribers, come join us, get in, get access to all of our tools. It's $25 a month. We will see you inside. Have an amazing day, y'all, and I'll be back this afternoon with Cheryl Woodhouse for side quests, because y'all know we don't know what to talk about until we're ready. We'll see y'all later. Bye now.
Bye.